Hello, thanks very much for clicking on my video, which is all about making these little bases. They're just simple plaster of Paris forms with a texture on the top, and then they're very simply painted. And in this video I shall go through how to make the plaster of Paris, how to make the hexagon shapes, how to paint them, and then how to get your little guys on the bases nice and safely as well. The first thing you're going to need is a piece of silver foil and something with a bit of thickness. I'm using an old tile, but you know, piece of wood, bit of MDF, anything, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's got a bit of a lip, and you'll see why in a second. So your silver foil needs to be slightly bigger than whatever it is you choose to put in the middle. Then you take your silver foil and you give it a bit of a scrunch. Don't scrunch it up into a tight ball. You'll spend the next half an hour unscrewing it, and that way lies madness. So fold it out, and as you can see, the texture that we've got there is the texture that we're going to end up with on the top of our bases. So then it's just a question of putting whatever it is that you're going to use in the middle, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold up the edges. I'll do this side, just scrunch it up to make a little lip. So as you can see, I've got my little lip all the way around, and then you just need to get your tile out, and you don't need the tile anymore, and then you're done. This is now going to be our mould for the plaster of Paris, which is what we're going to make next. So the next stage is making the plaster of Paris, and it's quite a good idea to get all your ducks in a row with this, because once you've mixed it you haven't got too much time. So I've got something solid, alright, that I can easily lift and drop. You'll see why that's important in a minute. And in here I've got 120 grams of plaster of Paris, and in here I've got 60 grams of water and 12 grams of PVA glue, thoroughly mixed together. And then we need our little mould as well. So what I'm going to do is we're going to whack the water into the plaster of Paris. Now normally when you're making plaster of Paris you try really hard to, you know, get no bubbles and all the rest of it, but I'm just going to mix it up as roughly and as quickly as possible, because I don't mind bubbles, because we're going for a sort of lava field sort of terrain, and lava has bubbles in it, so why not? Okay, so we've got our plaster of Paris mix in there, and it doesn't take long for this stuff to set. So once you've mixed it up, get your mould and get your plaster of Paris in your mould as quickly as you can. Just splodge it all out right in the middle, and then get smoothing it out. We needed that. Alright, what we need to do now is just want to level it all out a little bit, and that's why it's on the wooden base. All you do now is you take your wooden base and you just drop it. And as you can see, it's flattening. A little bit of a shake, and that's it really. That's all you need at that stage. So now you've got your layer of plaster of Paris. We're just going to have to leave that to set. Right, well this has had time to set now. Plenty of time. Ideally you'd probably take it out after about an hour, but it's been about 2 days because I've been distracted with other things. So anyway, I'm going to get this off. If you can get it off in one piece, you can reuse it again, that's great, but chances are it's not going to happen. Okay, that took me a few minutes to get the silver foil off, but it's done now, and I can see what texture I've ended up with. That looks alright, happy with that. So next stage is to turn this into a series of little hexagons. Okay, for this next stage you need a ruler, a craft knife, a pencil, protractor, and a couple of bases of the size that you want your plaster of Paris bases to be about. Okay, so done your plaster of Paris square over, and all you're going to do to start with is put your two bases lined up parallel to the left hand side of the base, and then you're going to draw a line, a vertical line down the base, and you're going to swap it over, move the two bases in. It's up to you how much give you want on the sides, but try and be consistent once you've started. Try and keep your lines parallel, and that way your hexagons will turn out to be as neat as possible. Draw another line, and then you just carry on with that across the base. Okay, so I've got my vertical lines going down there. What you're going to do now, make a mark in the centre, just as a reference point, somewhere near the middle, it doesn't matter, and then mark on 30 degrees with your protractor, and then draw a line across. Now at no stage you want to press massively hard down on this. Okay, alright, so we're then going to draw a series of parallel lines parallel to that line that we've just drawn. Okay, so I'm going to finish these off, and then we'll go into the next stage. Okay, last stage, we've got our two sets of parallel lines. Now we need to draw a third set, and you do this just by putting your bases in the middle of the little parallelograms that you've drawn, and drawing a line down either side, and then drawing parallel lines across from those. So I'm going to work my way across this again, and we'll be done. Okay, we're done. So as you can see, we've got our hexagons marked out, and now all you've got to do, you do have to be a little bit careful with this, is you just want to go over your lines and just score them with your craft knife. And I'm going to go over and all of these lines. Now don't press down too hard, because you'll crack the plaster of Paris. But if you do crack it, don't worry, that's what super glue is for. But try not to crack it too much. Alright, so I'm going to work my way across this, and then we'll get on to the next stage, which is one of my favourite stages. So as you can see, I've gone over and I've scored across all of the lines that I've drawn. Okay, and now this is both the most fun bit and the most nerve-wracking bit, is you just start snapping them out. So then it's just a question of working your way along. This is going remarkably well. So there was a few done. As you can see, we have our little hexagons. So I'm going to finish off doing the rest of these, and then we'll tidy up, and then we can have a look at where we're at. So there we go, we've got our 12 bases now from our sort of square of plaster of Paris, and we've got a great big huge pile of offcuts here, which I'm sure eventually I'll do something with. So next stage is painting, and we want to try and make them look something like our little fella here. So that's probably going to have to go in part 2, so hopefully I'll see you in part 2.